Are ghosts real?
Little is known of Richard's earliest years. From the age of 6, his life would be ultimately turned upside down with extreme circumstances. In 1459, tensions had escalated between the York and the Lancastrians. Richard York had gathered his forces in Ludlow Castle on the Welsh border. He brought all his family from Fotheringhay, including his 3 youngest children, Margaret, George, and of course, Richard. Richard passed his 7th birthday watching these forces gather and then march out of Ludlow towards London. However, excitement probably turned to fear very quickly when his brother and his father returned, bearing news that a royal army was hot in pursuit. The fear would then turn to terror when York and his 2 oldest sons, Edward and Edmund, his brother-in-law Richard Neville, the Kingmaker, would flee from Ludlow in the middle of the night in October. On October the 12th, leaving behind George, Margaret, Cecily, and Richard. The royal army flooded into Ludlow to punish the town for supporting the Yorkist cause. They would loot and burn as they went. Richard was placed into the custody of his maternal aunt, the Duchess of Buckingham, and then his family was stripped of all their lands and titles and found guilty of treason. This would be terrifying for a young boy of 7 years old. Hello and welcome to another episode of Are Ghosts Real with me, Corinne. Today I am in Ludlow Castle, the home of various kings and queens, including none other than Arthur Tudor and Catherine of Aragon. These walls, if they could talk, would have death and war and lots of things to say. So I am here in search of Richard III because, believe it or not, he did come here, but only for a very brief time. The Wars of the Roses had officially started, and he came here to celebrate his 7th birthday. However, sorry, there's a lot of people around today. However, his 7th birthday would be mired by, well, the war, really, and his father's ambition to claim the throne. And this would be a place which would start probably of excitement, but end in terror. So, without further ado, if you do enjoy this one, please don't forget to like and subscribe for me and leave me a comment down below. And let's get into the video. Look at these beautiful fireplaces. So, Richard of York would bring his entire family here from Fotheringhay as a place of safety and refuge. In 1066, Ludlow's story starts with Walter de Lacy, a trusted member of the household of William Fitz-Osborne, arrived in England with the conquering army of William the Conqueror in 1066. Fitz-Osborne was rewarded for his loyal part in William's victory with an earldom over the lands of Hereford. After 3 years of local resistance, Fitz-Osborne was able to claim his earldom and planned to keep his new acquisition secure by developing a string of castles along the border of England and Wales. Walter de Lacy was granted the manor of Stanton, which contains the present-day site of Ludlow Castle. Walter's sons, first Roger and then Hugh, built the earliest surviving parts of the castle that can still be seen today, and the de Lacy family retained lordship until the end of the 13th century. So this is in fact an important room. This is where Prince Arthur Tudor, would have slept in this part of the castle. He died here at the age of 15 from the dreaded sweating sickness. Along with Catherine of Aragon, she was here too, another very famous face. However, she did not die here. She would go on, so she would become the wife of Henry VIII. But this was his quarters. Again, lovely fireplaces there. So I wonder if Arthur, Prince Arthur, is here. He was the Prince of Wales, Arthur Tudor. So I am actually just going to try very quickly. The other thing I have brought with me is, because last time when I was at FORYOU, it got me thinking that potentially they were a bit upset with me because I didn't have a hair covering. And back in the day, all women would wear hair coverings. It would be very unusual for a woman to not, especially if she's married, and obviously I've got my rings on. So it did make me think that maybe they were a bit upset with me. And that's why maybe they didn't particularly want to talk with me too well. So I'm gonna put a cat ball here, and I'm just gonna. I mean, there is a lot of people around. I'm hoping that you can hear me. Okay. So what I'm just gonna do is I've got a white rose here as well. So I'm just gonna call out quickly. I'm gonna call out to Arthur Tudor. So if Arthur Tudor is here, you lived here, this was your home, Prince Arthur, Prince of Wales. No, okay, I don't feel like I'm getting anything there. Let's let's move on then. That I would put my hair in a plait, because that would be very medieval. Plaits, braids, whatever you want to call them. That was your traditional hairstyle. Obviously, it would be different. This is still a very modern plait, but it's still more in keeping with what I was wearing last time. And I think maybe that was, I don't know, making them upset a little bit. I don't know. But I've also got my boar on me as well, which is the third boar. Another beautiful fireplace there. From 1473 to 1483, Ludlow Castle would hold another famous royal connection, and that would be Prince Edward. Known as one of the princes in the tower, he would disappear, Uncle's watchful gaze, and nowhere to be known and found. To this day, the mystery of the princes in the tower still remains. He was the son of Elizabeth Woodville and Edward, who was Richard's brother, and he became the Prince of Wales in June 1471. At the age of 3, he was then sent to Ludlow, and then when he was 12, he learnt of his father's death and assumed the title King Edward V. I would not want to fall down there. I literally can't even see the bottom. It reaches about 36.6 metres deep to reach the level of the River Tyne. Wow. Or the Team even. Wow. That. So it's basically that. Pretty much. That's the keep there. And it's the height of the keep. Pretty much. So that's insane. I love this little doorway. I mean, alcove. Here. So this castle was of great status and held a lot of importance. It became the centre of administration for the shires of the Marshes and for Wales. The council was set up by Edward IV when he sent his son to live at Ludlow in 1473. Responsibilities grew over the years, where they become responsible for the government of Wales and the border countries. For over a century, it was seen as the capital city of Wales, and its courts were busy hearing criminal, civil, and ecclesiastical things relating to, or cases, relating to the Christian church and clergy, and a surge of construction began to house the judges in the local area. The council was then dissolved in 1641, but was revived briefly with fewer powers in 1660 until 1689, when it completely was abolished. So this is the inner court, and this is from the 13th century, and it would have been the most important area of the castle. So I am here, and there used to be a brewery here, which was over there, where they made their own mead, probably. I don't know, I like mead. So let's go down here. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn on GhostTube. See if I get anything relevant from GhostTube. I will try another little investigation in here, potentially. Because this, I think, potentially was the dungeon. Oof, I literally can't see a thing. Oh wow, goes around here. That's interesting. But yeah, oh wow, goes around here. That's interesting. But yeah, goes round here. That's interesting. But yeah, I feel like this may have been, I don't know, this is the bottom of the keep anyway, and you can see above there, so there's people actually standing above there. And look at these, you can see beautiful things here. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put out some, cat balls, I think. I'm also going to put out some, I'm going to put out cat balls, definitely. I'm going to do a spirit box session, and I think I'm also going to do a ghost tube from this bit, potentially. So let's do that. Right, so I've got ghost tube on, so it's listening. There is people obviously right out there having a picnic now, but we will give this a go. And it says Satan. Satan, brilliant. Is there any spirits here at all that reside in this castle? Is Richard Plantagenet or Richard Duke of York here? So this would have been the Great Hall. This would have been very grand back in the day. And this would have been the main accommodation as well. Up here. Interesting. And interestingly, there would have been window seats for the ladies to be able to embroider. Ghost tube is still on, it is still listening. I'm just trying not to fall over as I walk up these stairs. This is not easy. Oof. We're going higher. Ghost tube. I'm sorry if you're going everywhere. Ghost tube just said Jessica, but I generally don't feel like that is relevant. Right. There we go. So this would have been a sleeping quarters, I think. And here's some little window seats and a fireplace. Look at this beautiful view. That's lovely. There's a little room here. I don't know what that room would have been, but I'm basically in one of the towers now. I'm basically in one of the towers now. I'm basically in one of the towers now. And there's a beautiful view out there of the river. I've got my cat ball here, which is on. I'm also going to just put on, what's it saying? Said mother. I'm just going to put on my shawl. Okay, so I've got my shawl on. I've got my Son of York brooch. Back in the day they would have had brooches and everything. Obviously this shawl is not historically accurate, I'm wearing this. It's the Yorkist emblem. It is the emblem of the Sons of York. And this would have been on their badges and stuff. So the sun in splendour, as the badge is called, is a heraldic emblem particularly associated with the House of York during the Wars of the Roses. It is depicted as a round disc, sometimes with a human face, surrounded by rays, and represents the power and glory of the sun. The symbol is thought to have originated from a meteorological phenomenon seen by Edward VI, who was then the Earl of March and is Richard III's brother, before the Battle of Mortimer's Cross in 1461. They saw it as an omen that they would win the battle, which they did, and they were then known as the Three Sons of York, for the Duke of Clarence, Richard the Duke of Gloucester, and Edward the Earl of March. A quick spirit box session, I think, while there's no video. So, is Richard Duke of York still here? Oh, I heard something then. The thing that is on my head, the symbol, what does that mean? Let's go back down. Ghost tube is still on, still listening. Oops. Trying to do this without falling over. Just easier said than done. I also hear people. Oh, crikey. It's because I'm top heavy. I'm like carrying a really heavy bag. And because of that, and I've got all my filming equipment, because of that, this is really hard. Right, so we have come to the end of part 1. I hope that you have enjoyed it so far. It's been a bit interesting. The EVPs that I have caught, especially the first EVP in the dungeon, certainly was very interesting. But it does get a lot more interesting than this. So please stay tuned for part 2, coming very, very soon. And don't forget to smash that like button for me, as well as subscribe if you are new. And thank you to all the Jester Squad, and I look forward to your comments. And yeah, don't forget to comment because it helps the algorithm. So, have a fantastic weekend and week, whatever you guys get up to. And I'll see you next time for another episode of Are Ghosts Real? With me, Corinne.